All right, back to originality part two. So, boom. The more we come to the realization of our inner trauma, we're able to process, well, speaking from my experience, I'm able to process more of my reality. I have noticed that I am more present with my experience, and my presence is felt more, but it's also, I'm able to feel it in others as well. The more I see myself more, I'm able to see others more. And before, I would have been, again, it's layers. So I may have been able to see myself and others in a particular way, but not the whole essence. And again, the more I process, an example, a great example actually, I, growing up, I never liked school. I never liked school, right? And the beginning part of it was, and I can talk about this now because I processed a lot of the information in it, right? Through the experience, and actually was able to free my nervous system from hypervigilance and not feeling safe, especially with learning. Learning always, um, maybe except for like a lot of the esoteric knowledge and a lot of the spiritual knowledge and stuff like that, it fun. Learning about how the mind works and consciousness, right? Neuroscience and um, certain aspects of even like engineering and stuff like that. Fun. But growing up with the fundamental, like institutionalized learning was not fun to me. And part of the reason for that was because when I first went into school, I was coming from a nursery that was more, it felt, I guess, from my memory, like a more like a homeschool type of environment, right? And this environment was, it made school or learning fun, right? And then being taken from that then to, I was old enough to go into public school, it felt like a shock to the system, you know. Yeah, when I think about it now, yeah, it was mad. It was mad. Like in terms of like, okay, like back in those times, they were still doing corporal punishment, which is giving children lashes for certain things, and depending on how the teacher was and how the teacher felt at that time, um, you getting licks, right? And yeah, it was just shocking. It was just shocking, like actually experiencing, like seeing other children, if they were too loud or too, they would be seen as a troublemaker, right? So meaning you can really express how you felt. You had to be you had to curtail yourself. You had to behave a particular way to get rewards, basically, right? And that behavior either is like being, being good behave, or like getting good marks in class for a certain assignment, you get a sticker or whatever. But um, the little boy or the little girl that was loud, or maybe for whatever reason, right? They don't feel comfortable being at school. They most likely gonna get punished, and that stark difference was crazy to me, to my child self. So recently, I had to just actually go into that, and because I'm able to feel more of the parts of my nervous system that don't feel safe about certain things a lot more now, I'm able to process these things a lot faster. And especially as an adult that is aware of certain things, right? And I honestly believe that these are the things that we're actually supposed to be doing right now, like as adults, processing and repatterning, reparenting ourselves. But growing up and in society, we don't really learn these things, right? But it's our responsibility. It may not be our fault, but it is our responsibility to actually go through these things as now adults, and process what we went through as children without blaming our parents, because they only um you know for the most part, they tried their best with what they knew and what they had at their um at the time, right? And as we get older, as I have gotten older, I've learned to understand that a lot more, you know. But yeah, and as I actually reparented myself, and was able to process that information, process those moments, especially the moment that is fresh in my mind still today, my nervous system was able to relax and feel safe in a completely different way. And with that, it made taking in information, certain information, it made it I was able to feel safe in actually learning in a different way, right? Instead of feeling as if it was a survival, a means of survival. You got to learn this or else. You have to learn this. You have to succeed in this or this will occur, right? And it usually is followed by some incentive of, like it's gonna be pain, right? Um, and I don't know if the American or like overseas societies they go through this as well, or have. I'm pretty sure they may have gone through it to some degree, but in the Caribbean, it is, yeah. They're making headway into changing a lot of it, but back when I was going to school, it felt rough. From that standpoint, from my perspective, at that time, right? But yeah, and so because I have repatterned or reparented that part of myself, I don't get the nervous system overload that I usually used to get, especially a couple of years ago, like being in crowds and um, being in a lot of noise and chaos and stuff like that. I don't get the. I would have to take breaks. I don't get that overload anymore, as if my nervous system is tanking or holding or taking on a bombardment of different stimuli, right? Right now, it feels like I'm taking it in consciously, but I'm also processing it through. So, yeah. And again, all of that is, for me, feels like returning to an originality or an original state, being able to and being safe with expressing my original self, right? My true self, not the persona not feeling like I need to perform a particular way to receive love and appreciation and praises and stuff like that, but being an original being, like, just being myself, yeah. And it is, to be honest, it's freeing. It is quite freeing. And again, more and more layers are coming off. We constantly have work to do on ourselves, and yes, we do take breaks from it too, right? But yeah, it is the awareness of those changes for sure, and how the body feels. So I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. I think it is what, 10 minutes. Yeah. So I'll make another one soon. So yeah.